Before smartphones took over the world, one company stood above all others. That company was Nokia. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Nokia didn't just lead the mobile phone industry, it defined it. Their devices were everywhere, from Europe to Asia, from busy cities to small towns. Millions of people relied on Nokia every single day. For many, it wasn't just a phone, it was their first connection to the digital world. Nokia phones were simple, reliable, and incredibly durable. The battery lasted for days. The devices could survive drops, scratches, even extreme conditions. People trusted Nokia, and that trust turned into dominance. At its peak, Nokia controlled nearly half of the global mobile phone market. Think about that. Almost every second phone in the world was made by Nokia. It was a level of control that very few companies in history have ever achieved. And with that success came confidence. Nokia believed they understood their customers better than anyone else. They focused on improving what already worked. Better buttons, better battery life, stronger hardware. But while Nokia was perfecting the past, the future was quietly approaching. Technology was changing faster than ever before. The internet was becoming mobile. Software was starting to matter more than hardware, and a new type of device was about to emerge. In 2007, everything changed. Apple introduced the iPhone, a device with no physical keyboard, a full touchscreen, and a completely different way of interacting with technology. It wasn't just a phone, it was a small computer in your pocket. But Nokia didn't see it that way. They believed touchscreens were a niche idea, something unnecessary. They thought people would always prefer physical buttons. After all, that's what had made them successful. And at the time, it made sense. But the world was already shifting. Consumers were starting to expect more from their devices. They wanted internet browsing, apps, a smoother, more intuitive experience. And Nokia wasn't ready to deliver that. Inside the company, there were warnings. Some engineers saw the change coming. Some understood the importance. But the company moved slowly, too slowly. While competitors were innovating, Nokia was hesitating. And hesitation in a fast-moving industry can be fatal. Year by year, the gap started to grow. Apple kept improving the iPhone. Google entered the market with Android. And suddenly, the competition wasn't just catching up, they were moving ahead. Nokia tried to respond. They released new devices. They experimented with different systems. But nothing truly worked. The company that once led the industry was now trying to keep up. And for the first time in years, Nokia was losing control. What once seemed impossible was slowly becoming reality. As Apple and Android began to reshape the industry, Nokia found itself in unfamiliar territory. For the first time, it was no longer leading, it was reacting. And in a fast-moving market, reacting is never enough. While competitors were building entire ecosystems, Nokia was still thinking in terms of hardware. But the game had changed. Phones were no longer just devices. They had become platforms. Apps, software, user experience, these were now the most important factors. And this is where Nokia struggled the most. Their operating system couldn't keep up. It felt outdated, slow, difficult for developers to build on. Meanwhile, Apple's iOS and Google's Android were evolving rapidly. Developers were choosing those platforms. Users were following the apps. And Nokia was being left behind. Inside the company, the pressure was growing. There were attempts to fix the situation, new strategies, new partnerships, new devices, but nothing truly solved the core problem. The company was trying to adapt to a future it hadn't prepared for, and time was running out. In a desperate move, Nokia partnered with Microsoft. The goal was to rebuild its position using a new operating system. But by then, the market had already moved on. Consumers had chosen their ecosystems. Switching back was no longer easy, and loyalty was fading. Year after year, Nokia's market share continued to decline. The numbers told a clear story. What was once dominance was now irrelevance. Stores that once sold millions of devices were now struggling to survive. The brand that had defined an entire generation was slowly disappearing. And then, it happened. Nokia sold its mobile phone division. The era was over. A company that once controlled nearly half of the global market had lost its place entirely. But Nokia's story is more than just a rise and fall. It's a lesson, a reminder that success can be dangerous. Because when a company becomes too comfortable, it stops questioning itself. It stops taking risks. It stops seeing change as an opportunity. Subscribe for more stories.